Hi everybody, so I'm back with a follow-up video and additional information. I came up with the title, The Menorah Sign, which is 7 eclipses, which is different from my last video, but it's all-inclusive. The New Jerusalem and the Hanukkah Rapture. But anyways, please bear with me to the end. I'm going a little bit slow because I'm trying to catch a cold, and I have recorded a bit of this yesterday, but my dog was acting up and barking quite a bit. So I'm going to do it all over again in spite of how I'm feeling, and because I think it's really important, especially for the month of December. Going forward, I think there's about to be a lot that's going to transpire this month, and this video might be a little convoluted, and I'm going to be using a lot of video clips from the YouTube channel New Moon Rapture, as he encapsulates a lot of this information really well, and rather than I repeat it, I'm just going to put in bits of his video clip. Some of them are going to be several minutes long, and then I'm going to interject with the information I have and put it all together. And I think 2025, in particular December 21st, but in my opinion, but from there, I'll go from here. So you'll notice when he does his clips that he refers to the number 45 quite a bit, as well as the square of a number and the cube of a number. So the key number is 45, which is the number 9, which is 4 plus 5, and represents completeness and divine perfection in the Bible. So 3 of the key words that add up to 45 are Adam in standard Hebrew gematria, and we know the first Adam was created by God, and the last man, Adam, is Jesus Christ. Then Enoch, who walked with God, was taken or caught up, and in ordinal English gematria, his name equals 45. Likewise with Elijah, he was also taken by the whirlwind, and his name also equals 45 in ordinal English gematria. Also, New Moon Rapture will be referring to the square of 45 and the cube of 45. And so this is actually comes from the New Jerusalem, aka Salem, which is the divine and perfect city, the number 9 or 4 plus 5, and is described in Revelation 21, verses 2 and 16. So you can see a depiction of the new city, Jerusalem. Here's the square in which the sides are equal, and then the cube, which the base, the width, and the height are equal.
There's one number that God left us as a key to unlock the prophetic door. And that number is 45. And he left it to us from the very beginning, with the name of the very first man, Adam. The word Adam in Hebrew equals 45. And we know that God declares the end from the beginning. And that's exactly what the number 45 does. it tells you the end. And he left the number 45 in key areas with key people to show us what is going to happen and when it is going to happen. Let me say that again. The number 45 shows us what is going to happen and when it's going to happen. And it's all about the rapture and the year 2025. A square year is a year whose number is a perfect square, meaning it can be multiplied by itself to get the year number. For example, 2025 is a square year because 45 times 45 equals 2025. The last square year was 1936, which was 44 times 44. And the next one will be 2116, which is 46 times 46. Do you guys see how rare the year that we are in is? A square year with the number 45, in which God has encoded it throughout the Bible to point to this year. All right, we know that Enoch has a direct connection with Hanukkah. Even his name in Hebrew is Hanuk, which is short for Hanukkah. And his name means disciplined and dedicated. And Hanukkah is actually called the Feast of the Dedication. Okay? And Enoch's name equals 45 in basic simple gematria, which is the square root of 2025, meaning that when you square the number 45, multiply it by itself, 45 times 45 equals the year that we're in, 2025, okay? This is real, okay? We're here. But the crazy thing, connection with the cube, is when you cube the number 45, which means multiply it 3 times to itself. 45 times 45 times 45. You get the number 9/11/25. It's a date. 9/11/2025. When you cube 45. Okay? Now I showed you guys, if you begin the new month from the full moon, which is December 4th, and you go 11 days forward to December 14th, you come to the first day of Hanukkah, and that would be 9/11/25, right? Because December 4th would be the beginning of the 9th month on the biblical calendar, Kislev. So it would be Kislev 11, starting from the full moon on December 4th. Takes you to December 14th, 9/11/2025, which is 45 cubed, the value of Enoch. Just like the cross is an open cube. This is the day, the way out, right? So we have the date, 9/11/2025. First day of Hanukkah, when you cube the number 45. That number, 9/11/25, is also another thing. And, I'm not dogmatic. I'm just showing you everything. I'm laying it out on the table, what I have. If you start from the exact day that America was founded, which is the 4th of July, Independence Day, in 1776, and you do a day count all the way to December 31st, the last day of December this year, 2025, it is that number, 9/11/25, which is 45 times 45 times 45. The very last day of December. That's bonkers, right? Another thing that I saw is that Enoch was raptured at 365 years old. That's how many days we have in our years today. So it comes to my mind, is God saying that we are going to be raptured on the 365th day of the year, December 31st? I'm just putting it on the table, showing you what I know. December 31st is not part of Hanukkah, okay? But I just wanted to show you this pattern. One thing that I can guarantee every one of you out there is this. Those who are going to be raptured are going to be raptured in the month of December in 2025. Period.
So here it is for the cube using the number 45. So the cube geometry. So 45 times 45 times 45 equals 91,125 or 9/11/25, and that's Kislev 11 in the year 2025. Kislev being the ninth Hebrew month, and this falls on the first day of Hanukkah, which is December 14th. So now you see the connection with the New Jerusalem, which is a cube that has the same width, length, and height per Revelation 21, verses 2 and 16. You see that just one face of it, which is a square or the 2D view, so that's 45 times 45, not the length or width or height mentioned in Revelation 21, but using the perfect number 9, which is 4 plus 5, or 45. You get 45 times 45, which is 2025, the year we're in, and then the cube, which is what this is also, which is 45 times 45 times 45, the width, length, and height. You get 91,925, or like you said, 9/11/25, or Kislev 11, which is the first day of Hanukkah on December 14th. However, there is another geometry or shape that also fits the criteria of the length, the width, and the height being equal, and that's the pyramid with the width, the length, and the height. So it's only these two geometries that fit that criteria. So there's also a possibility that the New Jerusalem is the shape of a pyramid as opposed to the cube, or in fact, I'll go into this later, it's both.
All right, we remember that December 14th, 2020, right here, was the day the C-19 jab went out. First day, first shots came out of New York. Okay, New York equals 666, but what we're looking at here is that was right in the middle of the two once-in-a-lifetime eclipses, August 21st, 2017, and then 7 years later, April 8th, 2024. And these two eclipses made an X in America, which is the sign of the Son of Man, the Tav, the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And if you do the day count, from eclipse to eclipse, the exact middle day in those 7-year time periods is December 14th, 2020, the day the first jab one out. Okay, December 14th, 2020. What we're going to do is we're going to start from April 8th. Remember last year, the very popular eclipse, April 8th, 2024. And we're going to do a day count to December 14th, 2025. I want to show you guys something amazing. All right, as you can see here, from April 8th, 2024, the major once-in-a-lifetime solar eclipse last year, to December 14th, this year, 2025, it is exactly 615 days. 615. We go to Genesis 6:15. Remember, God declares the end from the beginning. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. Talking about Noah's Ark. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, and breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. Now remember the calculation on the ark. 300 cubits by 50 cubits by 30 cubits, right? So we take 300 times 50 times 30, the dimensions of the ark, but we do it twice. You guys remember this? Times 300 times 50 times 30, right? And you get 2025 with 8 zeros. Now, why does this hit the mark? Because Hanukkah is 8 days. And you have 8 zeros after 2025 here, hitting December 14th from the eclipse. And 8 means new beginnings. The man-child is circumcised on the 8th day. Patterns, patterns, patterns. The Feast of Dedication, that's Hanukkah, is mentioned once, just once, in the Bible in the book of John. Specifically the passage in John 10:22 and 23. But it's actually 10:22 that the words Feast of Dedication is only used. Watch. John 10:22. And it was at Jerusalem the Feast of the Dedication. And it was winter. And Jesus walked in the temple of Solomon's porch. So you see how 10:22 is the only verse that says Feast of Dedication. But the reason I want you to see that is because look, 10:22, December 22nd. December is actually the 10th month. December 22nd is what? The last day of Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, which is what? The first day of winter. And what does the verse say? And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of the Dedication, and it was winter. John 10:22, December 22nd, the first day of winter, the last day of Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication. The 8th day. The 12th prime number is 37, and the 21st prime number is 73. 3773. You guys remember that number or those numbers? The numerical value for Genesis 1:1, the first verse in the Bible in Hebrew, is 2701, which is 37 times 73. And when you add 2701 to its reflection, 1072, it is also 3773. 37 and 73, what they are is the values of the word wisdom in Hebrew. Wisdom equals 37 in ordinal gematria and 73 in standard gematria, hence 3773. And so this is the very beginning of the Bible, 3773 encoded all up in there. And now it's connected to the date December 21st, 1221. Because 37 is the 12th prime number and 73 is a 21st prime number. So again, God declares the end from the beginning.
So now turning to the Olivet Discourse and the sign of the Son of Man. So the Olivet Discourse is in Luke 21, Mark 13, and Matthew 24. And I'm just going to read from Matthew 24. And it says in Matthew 24, verse 30, "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, which is the cross or the Tav, which is the last Hebrew letter. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn." And that's on Yom Kippur. "And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." So when did the sign of the Son of Man occur, which is forming the cross or the Tav? And that was during the first two American great eclipses that were on August 21st of 2017, and then 7 years later on April 8th of 2024. So you can see that here. So here's the first eclipse that was on August 21st of 2017, and then the second eclipse on April 8th, 2024 last year, and it forms the Hebrew letter, the Tav, which is also the cross, which is the sign of the Son of Man. I'll go later on to include the annular solar eclipse that occurred on October 14th of 2023. But right now I'm just going to focus on that. And also, like he said, the intersection was on December 14th, but it was also in the city of Little Egypt, which is associated with the pyramids. And this first total solar eclipse went through 6, not 7 cities named Jerusalem or Salem. So some of you have seen the 7 Salems, which the first American eclipse traversed through on its path. But if you go back and look, you notice in Salem, Wyoming, they just picked, I think, a ranch named Salem or a country store with the name Salem in Wyoming. But you can find Salem, Oregon, Salem, Idaho, Salem, Nebraska, Salem, Missouri, Salem, Kentucky, and Salem, South Carolina. So instead of 7, there were actually 6 cities that the first total solar eclipse path traversed through. And that was all of these excluding Salem, Wyoming. So it's in fact 6 Salems. So as I just mentioned, that the actual number of Salems or Jerusalems that the first American eclipse traversed through was 6 of them. And if you look at Revelation 11 verse 2, it says, "But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles, and they shall tread the holy city Jerusalem, underfoot for 42 months. And you know 42 months is 3.5 years, or 1,260 days. And if you divide 1,260 days by 6, or the 6 Salems, you end up with 210 days or years, and 210 years was the number of years that Israel sojourned in Egypt, and this is also when you include the second path that forms the Tav, or the cross, it intersects in Little Egypt. Now, going back to the New Jerusalem city mentioned in Revelation 21, which has the same base, width, and height, although in that one it talks about a different unit, which I believe was 300 furlongs. But I said there were two possible geometries that meet that criteria. It's not only the cube, which has the same base, width, and height, but the pyramid, which has the same base, width, and height. And I think that's what the intersection of the two total solar eclipses through Little Egypt in Illinois represents. But I had also said it might actually, and I believe it is both. So if you look at inserting a pyramid within a cube, they both fit perfectly together with the same width, length, and height. However, when you do the sign of the Son of Man comparison of these two geometries, the unfolded cube actually ends up being the cross, which is the sign of the Son of Man, but the unfolded pyramid is a star, and it doesn't form the sign of the Son of Man, which is the cross, or the Tav. But if you go by the 42 months, or 1,260 days, divided by 6 Salems or Jerusalems, and use 6 mini pyramids, it does in fact form the cross, or the Tav. That is the sign of the Son of Man, and you can see that here as well as here. And when you fold these 6 mini pyramids together, they fit perfectly within the cube. And here's another 3-dimensional view of where the 6 cubes go into, and on the back side within the cube. And interestingly enough, the white portion here in ordinal Greek is 4033, which is the Lord's Prayer. And then you can see the 6 pyramids being inserted into that. And this is courtesy of John Ellis's website, 3D 37 times 73, which is the Lord's Prayer. So you might be wondering, what on earth am I trying to prove? So I'm trying to show next that the solar eclipses, the 3 that includes the annular solar eclipse across America, forms the olive, Tav, and there's a second one that encloses the promised land for Abraham. So as I showed earlier, the first 2 great American eclipses, the first one in 2017 and the second one last year in 2024, formed the cross, or the sign of the Son of Man, or the Tav, and it intersects in Little Egypt. And as New Moon Rapture said, it's on December 14th, the first day of Hanukkah. If you look at the annular solar eclipse that went down from Oregon and exited through Texas, it forms the olive. So the olive, Tav, And in the center of this, intersecting 3 solar eclipses, is a triangle, and the 2D version of a triangle then forms the 3D version of a pyramid. Now, for Abraham's promised land, it's also enclosed by 4 eclipses. So you have the 3 in America, and then the 3 that enclose the promised land, and you can see that here. So starting in August 11, 1999, you have the first total solar eclipse, then the second one that was on March 29, 2006, and then you have 2 upcoming, which will be August 2nd, 2027, and the last one traversing across Abraham's promised land will occur March 20th of 2023. March 20th of 2034. And this graphic is courteous of the late Daniel Matson, that was on watchforthedate.org, and unfortunately his website isn't currently available. But notice the 4 total solar eclipses forms roughly a square, and that's the 2D version, and then the 3D version of a square is a cube. So then you have, with the Americas, the pyramid, and with the promised land over, that includes the nation of Israel and Abraham's promised land described in the Bible between the Nile River and the Euphrates River. It forms roughly the square or the cube. So this is why I said earlier that I believe that the New Jerusalem is a combination of both the cube and the pyramid, which the pyramid is formed across the United States, with the triangle becoming a pyramid, and then Abraham's promised land being a square that incorporates the nation of Israel between the Nile River and the Euphrates, and the 2D square becoming a cube. So that's why I believe that it's both. And again, when both of these are unfolded with 6 mini pyramids or a cube, they form a cross, which is the Tav, or the sign of the Son of Man. So what is the solar eclipse menorah? So I had put out a video in 2023 on the Great American Eclipses, which includes the annular solar eclipse and then Abraham's promised land. If you put them in sequential order per date, it goes all the way from August 11th, 1999, and PL means promised land, through the second eclipse that already occurred as well in 2006, which was the second one to engulf the promised land area, and then the American eclipse, the August 21st, 2017, and then the fourth one being October 14th, but instead of a total solar eclipse, this one was an annular ring of fire solar eclipse, and then the fifth was on the April 8th, 2024, also an American eclipse, and then the 2 upcoming, which will be in the Promised Land, which will be the 6th and 7th of the 7 solar eclipses between the United States and the promised land. That'll occur, like I said, in 2027 and 2043. If you put them on the 7 candle menorah, you end up, those shown in teal is Abraham's promised land. Those shown highlighted in 11 in yellow are spiritual Jerusalem within the United States. So you end up with the 2 that occurred, the 3 that occurred here, and the 2 upcoming, with the center candle being the annular solar eclipse, while these 3 to the left and 3 to the right are total solar eclipses. Then you end up with the 7 solar eclipses, with again the 3 total to the left of the ring of fire center menorah candle, and the 3 total solar eclipses to the right of the ring of fire. And this forms what I am calling the 7 eclipse, 7 candle menorah, or 7 candle eclipse Hanukkah menorah, pointing to the period of Hanukkah. And finally, I wasn't sure I was going to mention this, but I thought I might as well. So the 3-eye atlas, the third interstellar object, which will be closest to the Earth on December 19th, whether it's real or imaginary. In Luke 21, verse 28, it says, "And when you see these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh." So the atlas vertebrae, appropriately named, is the first cervical vertebrae that connects your spine with your skull, and C being the third alphabet, and 1 being singular or I of the spine and vertebrae, is the vertebrae that allows the up and down motion of the head. For example, when nodding your head, yes. So I think this alludes to Luke 21:28, which is to look up and lift up your heads, which is only permissible due to the atlas vertebrae, the C1 vertebrae, or C being the third letter, 1 being singular or individual, or I allows you to look up and lift up your head. And so on December 19th, that our redemption is drawing nigh. So I believe that the last day of Hanukkah, on December 21st, the winter solstice, right after the 3-eye atlas being closest to the Earth on December 19th, is alluding to Luke 21:28. So I believe that the information presented here, along with the video information that is from New Moon Rapture and so many other channels, such as Repo Man 64 and Dr. Barry Ah, who also has December 21st, the last day of Hanukkah, or the 8th day of Hanukkah. I believe, since it's kind of alluding to after the first day of Hanukkah on December 14th, and the 3-eye atlas, the third interstellar object, like I said, whether real or imaginary. If it's imaginary, then it's predictive programming, but nonetheless, it's information that they're giving to the public. that after that point, which is Luke 21, verse 28, which is look up and lift up your head, for your redemption draw nigh. And then 2 days later, which will be on the winter solstice, the last day of Hanukkah, the 21st through the 22nd of this year, 2025, will be the most likely rapture date. I know some think that it can be good man comes on the full moon in January 2026, which falls on January 3rd, but it's on a Sabbath. So there's also the other Bible verse, which I'm paraphrasing, that pray that your flight not be in the winter nor on the Sabbath, and that one falls in the winter but on the Sabbath. So I think it's got to be in 2025, in my humble opinion. So I believe that December 21st through the 22nd, and it cannot go beyond the 365th day of the year, like the age of Enoch, or in the U.S., 91,125th day, which is December 31st of 2025. So I don't see, in my humble opinion, that we go into 2026 whatsoever. And I also see, look up, lift up your head, for your redemption draws near, starting on December 19th with the third interstellar object, Atlas. And again, whether it's real or not, it's a day that's thrown out there. But I believe, like I said, December 21st through the 22nd, the last day of Hanukkah, is it this year, 2025. So please get close, get tight with the Lord. Please get saved if you haven't already, because our redemption is drawing near. The last day of Hanukkah, December 21st through the 22nd. And look up and lift up your heads, per Luke 21, verse 28. Again, because your redemption draws nigh. Anyways, I hope that this video has been a blessing to you. I know I've run out of steam and have lost my voice a lot. So please forgive the fact that running in very slow motion, and it's been slow in parts of this video, and I had to use a lot of video clips from the YouTube channel New Moon Rapture, because my voice was just went out. But anyways, so again, I hope this video has been a blessing. If you haven't come to the Lord, now is the time to do so. Today is December 1st, so we only have 3 weeks. And if it goes to the end of the year, we just have through the end of this month. So anyways, I'll end here, and I will talk to you soon and see you in the air. Take care.